This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtuo coffee machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your Virtuo pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
Beau, between us, would you ever use Stalkerware to track Guinevere?
Never, ever in a million years, because if she found out, I would be dead. I would be dead, and all the atoms that had anything to do with me also would be gone and destroyed. It would be bad.
That would be a pretty epic whooping.
Mm-hmm. So no, I think that there's no good use for Stalkerware, but there's plenty of bad ones, and we're going to hear about that this week.
And with that, welcome to What the Hack, a true cybercrime podcast. I'm Adam Levin.
I'm Beau Friedlander.
And I'm Travis Taylor.
Eva Galperin, welcome to What the Hack.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm the director of cybersecurity at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, where I have worked since 2007, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. We're a digital civil liberties organization, and for the last 10 years or so, I have focused on privacy and security protections for vulnerable populations. And that can mean anybody from journalists to activists to people in LGBTQ populations, people of color, religious minorities, and probably for the last 5 or 6 years, I have been working on sort of the specific problems of people in abusive relationships.
What does EFF do?
EFF is a digital civil liberties organization. Our job is to make sure that when you go online, your rights come with you. We are global. We have probably about 100 people working for EFF, and we have sort of three main classes of people working there. We have lawyers who file what we call impact litigation, so lawsuits that we think are going to really make a difference in digital civil liberties beyond just helping the people who are involved in the lawsuit. We have people who do activism and policy, so we will go and lobby at the UN or at The Hague or in Washington, D.C., even if we have to. And that sort of thing. We work on legislation. I've actually worked on a couple of laws myself.
And so what is your role specifically as the cybersecurity lead?
What I do as director of cybersecurity is I wake up, I roll out of bed, I look at the world. I see what I try to look where other people are not looking, to really look ahead to what I think are going to be the kind of next set of issues that affect people on the margins. And the reason why I put so much emphasis on helping marginalized communities is because the technology that impacts marginalized communities will eventually come to impact comfortable people at the center of power. And I want to get to it first. So these are the best canaries in the coal mine.
So I know you have a background in political science as well.
Mm-hmm.
How does that factor into your cybersecurity work?
When you do sort of global cybersecurity research, and you spend your time talking to people in vulnerable populations, often people who are doing activism or independent journalism in authoritarian countries or war zones, it is really good to understand how politics works, how nations relate to one another. and where countries are, which incidentally is not a strength of American cybersecurity. This is really a deep weakness that we have. So just like understanding the rest of the world turned out to be extra super useful, and a lot of people in my field don't really have that.
So, Eva, let's talk a little bit about tech-enabled abuse. How would you broadly define that?
I have spent a bunch of time working on what we call Stalkerware, which is the class of commercially available software that is meant to be covertly installed on a device for the purpose of spying on someone else, which incidentally is de facto abuse.
And de facto illegal too, I'd imagine.
It depends. Not de facto illegal. It depends on exactly how you're spying, whether or not it's your device, whether or not you have legitimate access to that device, and also what jurisdiction you're in. Because in the United States, the laws around wiretapping actually change from state to state.
Okay, so walk us through the advent of Stalkerware. These are legitimate businesses. I mean, and I don't mean like a mobster saying they're a legitimate businessman, but a legitimate enterprise that is creating this software that is designed to track people. Was it made for parents to keep tabs on their kids, or what was the advent of it?
Oh, is. So this stuff is as old as computers and spying on what other people are doing on their computers, but it really took off in the era of the smartphone. When we started walking around with tracking devices in our pockets at all times that also contain all of our passwords and conversations and contacts and photographs and our calendar. This is an amazing honeypot for people who want to know what we're doing, what we're thinking, where we're going, and sometimes in order to control us. And that made it like a tremendously tempting vector for tech-enabled abuse. So we really saw the industry take off with the advent of the smartphone, when you could start installing this stuff covertly on a phone. And it has been going on ever since. So there's really like more than a solid decade of this kind of software being used for abuse. But it is not the only way that people engage in tech-enabled abuse. For example, abusers may track their victims through a Bluetooth-enabled physical tracker, like an AirTag or a Tile or a Samsung Smart Tag or a Chipolo. They might spy on their, they might break into your email account and read your emails, or they might spy on your social media using or your friends only posts by making like a fake account and then getting friended by you. That's still all tech-enabled abuse. The stuff that I'm looking into right now that's really interesting is actually the use of tracking related to cars. So as I don't know if you've tried to buy a car recently, but cars now come with they are now basically just cell phones on wheels. They are a data privacy nightmare, and that makes them a very powerful vector for abuse in these abusive relationships.
We had Jen Caltrider on from Mozilla talking about privacy not included.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was our 121st episode. Jen Caltrider makes us want to walk to the bookstore.
It's terrifying how much data cars are collecting on each and every one of us.
Oh, yeah. And people are not always very clear on what data is being collected, where it's going, or who it's going to. And car companies are not very good at locking an abuser out of access to that data, especially because frequently in an abusive relationship, it's the abuser whose name is on the title of the car, or who may own the car. Even if there has been a divorce decree granting the survivor sole usage of the car, or there has been a protective order which protects the survivor against stalking and tracking. Sometimes we cannot even get the car companies to take the survivor's access to that information away.
Eva, what got you interested in this area?
This is kind of an infamous story. There I was, working on APTs.
For our listeners, I want to clarify that by APT, we mean Advanced Persistent Threat, which are cyber criminal groups that are usually well-funded and have extensive experience in targeting high-value organizations.
Yeah, so I was tracking state-aligned actors who were targeting journalists and activists and lawyers on behalf of a government with malware. Not particularly sophisticated malware, which is the reason why the larger sort of security researchers were not writing reports about this stuff. But I was tracking them, and I was tracking them along with a guy who was working at Google and later went to go work as the director of security at The Intercept. And we published a whole bunch of reports together. At the end of 2017 and also the beginning of 2018, there were a bunch of stories about how it turned out that this guy was a serial rapist. He raped a lot of women. And at the beginning of 2018, I read an interview with one of his survivors. Is located in New Zealand. And one of the things that she said, and that a lot of the other people who were being interviewed in New Zealand said, was that they were absolutely terrified because they were worried that this guy, who was, a very sophisticated computer security professional, was going to, install stalkerware on their phones and spy on them in order to sort of frighten them into silence. And allegedly, this was something that he had threatened to do. And I got really, really angry about this. I was so mad. So I tweeted that if you are a woman who has been sexually assaulted by a hacker and you are worried about your device being spied on, that you could get in touch with me and I would make sure that you would get some sort of forensic analysis. And this was promptly retweeted something like 10,000 times. And I got like 30 messages a day. And in fact, I still get people coming to me with abuse cases. I helped start an organization called the Coalition Against Stalkerware, where we get activists, but also people who are working sort of on the ground directly with survivors and security professionals who are doing analysis of malware, and people at like Google and at Apple to all sort of work together in order to kind of like limit the threat posed by stalkerware by better understanding it and counteracting it. So that's how that happened.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
So, how does stalkerware actually impact its victims?
They're actually sort of two levels of impact. One of them is that your phone gives away an enormous amount of information about what you're doing at any given time. Like I said, you get your passwords and your conversations and your social media posts and your emails, not to mention real-time reports about your location. And all of these are basically just a gold mine for an abuser. But the other thing that Stalkerware does is it gives the abuser just enough knowledge to make the victim feel like the abuser is omniscient and omnipotent. No. That there is no limit to the knowledge about what they're doing and who they're seeing and what they're saying and what they're thinking. And that in and of itself becomes this sort of tool of coercive control. Because one of the things that I work really hard to do is not only to make sure that Stalkerware is harder to install, easier to detect, easier to remove, more limited in its abilities when it does get installed on devices. The other thing that I really try very hard to do is to demystify Stalkerware for survivors of abuse so that they understand exactly what it is that their abuser is and is not able to do, so that even if they don't remove the Stalkerware, they can create this sort of area of privacy and security for themselves. And sometimes that is what a survivor really needs.
Are there telltale signs of Stalkerware?
This is the answer that you will see from all security professionals when you ask them a question like this. They will look off into the distance and they will sigh heavily and say, "It depends." There is some Stalkerware that will drain your phone battery or your phone data very quickly, and so your phone will start to overheat, and you will end up using a lot of your data plan very quickly. But there is also Stalkerware that does not do this. Specifically, a lot of the Stalkerware that targets iPhones is not software that is covertly installed on your device. It's usually a way of scraping your iCloud backups or a way of breaking into your Apple ID, and those will not. There will not be any evidence on your phone. It will not start behaving strangely, but Apple does have this great thing. It's called Safety Check. You go to Settings, then Privacy and Security, and you go to Safety Check, and Apple will walk you through all of the data that is on your device and that is on your account, how it's being shared and who it's being shared with. And that's actually a really, really great way of catching most of the Stalkerware products that target iOS devices or Apple accounts. When it comes to Android, the Android ecosystem is much more open, which in some ways, as an advocate of the open net, who also enjoys doing security research, I think is good. But also means that it is possible to install all kinds of very bad things on people's Android devices without them knowing. So there's like a robust sort of ecosystem of Android malware out there. And because this robust ecosystem exists, the AV companies that make mobile AV products are increasingly good at recognizing Stalkerware, flagging it and giving you the option of removing it. I think the AV company that had the kind of best statistics for recognizing Stalkerware as of a couple of years ago, which was the last time that I ran a thorough test, was GData.
So following up on Adam's question, are there ways to know if you have a tracker, like an AirTag, in your car that you didn't place there? Is there a sweeping device that people can buy, or is there some other way that people can be made aware of the fact that they may be carrying around a device like that?
iPhones should automatically tell you after a certain amount of time whether or not you are being tracked by an unwanted tracker. I mean, specifically by an AirTag. And the latest versions of Android should also have this capability. So that's the good news. The bad news is that if you are being tracked with something other than an AirTag, like a Chipolo or a Tile or a Samsung Smart Tag, you will not get these sort of like always on passive warnings that you are being tracked. And so you have to download a scanner app. I did a test of all the different detection apps fairly recently, and I can tell you they all suck. And so all I can really tell you...
Don't sugarcoat it. Don't sugarcoat
it. They all suck. And all I could tell you is that the one that sucks least is called AirGuard.
Just so we understand the sucks least scale, what makes it suck the least?
It is the one that had the least bad sort of ability to detect a tracker which is following you, regardless of what kind of tracker it is.
I imagine if you are targeted by one of these devices, let's say you're a journalist and you're just trying to do your job and somebody really doesn't want you to do your job. I'm thinking, you spoke of vulnerable targets, and that seems to me like a big one, a journalist. What recourse do they have in today's environment of Pegasus, everything from Pegasus to, I guess, more down market things? Like, how do they stay safe?
Well, if you are worried about Pegasus or Predator, if being targeted by directly by a nation state that is willing to burn O'Day on you is within your threat model, and you use an iOS device, I recommend turning on iOS lockdown mode.
So there is recourse for. I mean, this is not just like Laura Poitras's film famously showing Greenwald and Edward Snowden and Laura in that hotel room with Faraday bags and shutting off devices, and there are other ways to.
Yes, if lockdown mode had been available back in like 2012, when it would have worked just fine.
Yeah, got you. So that level of paranoia now is not necessary for somebody who's concerned about security.
I can't tell you that, again, if this is the particular type of threat that you are worried about, and you have an iOS device, and you want to make sure that you are secure against this kind of threat, then I recommend turning on lockdown mode. What lockdown mode does is it does limit some of the capabilities of your phone, but it, as far as I know, none of the reports on Predator or Pegasus or anything related to them have been reports of things that would have worked on a phone with lockdown mode enabled.
And now, okay, let's go down the food chain a little bit to non-governmental forms of stalkerware. I assume they're also something you can protect yourself from with lockdown mode. And again, only if you have an Apple device.
I mean, certainly lockdown mode will also keep those things out.
And is there a similar solution for Android, or is it really just iOS?
Just iOS. There's no sort of equivalent in Android. For Android, I recommend the latest Pixel running the latest version of Graphene OS.
What do you see as a way to combat stalkerware? How do we fight it?
Well, there are a bunch of different ways. One of the nice things about working for EFF is because there are so many tools in the EFF toolbox, we can really approach a problem from like all kinds of different angles at once. So one of the angles was making it easier for people with mobile devices to detect stalkerware when it is on their devices. The other is convincing Apple and Google to remove this stuff from their app stores. Stalkerware is in violation of both Google and Apple stores' terms of service, but it sneaks onto there all the goddamn time, and it requires sort of eternal vigilance to keep it out. Additionally, a lot of the companies that make this stalkerware essentially make it, reskin it, and kind of franchise it out to a bunch of other people. They change its name all the time, which is why when people ask me what stalkerware should I be watching out for, I very rarely name it, both for the reason that I don't want to give them free advertising, but also because they change their names all the goddamn time, even when it is essentially the same product. And the actual people behind this software are often very deeply sketchy. Zach Whitaker last year had a really, really great article about how people behind an entire fleet of stalkerware products, 7 or 8 different stalkerware products that looked like they were based in Vietnam, and therefore probably beyond U.S. law enforcement's ability to do anything, may actually be located in Texas, the United States, where U.S. law enforcement very much could do something about it. So we're waiting to see if that goes anywhere.
And it's going to become a much hotter mess now that Apple has opened up its App Store to anybody.
I'm afraid so. And again, I am a big proponent of the open web, and but the downside of that is, yes, we are going to see a great explosion of Apple stalkerware products, and I'm going to have to keep an eye out. And it's not like Apple didn't see this coming, so there are people inside of Apple who have sort of braced themselves.
And how effective, if at all, are antivirus programs at detecting and removing stalkerware?
It depends on the antivirus program, but GData actually had a pretty good stats. But it is an eternally moving target, so there is no antivirus program that is going to find every version of every stalkerware every single time.
You have been collaborating with Kaspersky and SentinelOne, correct?
Those are both companies I have worked with on this, yes.
Right. And how has it influenced the industry's perception of stalkerware?
Well, I would say probably as recently as 5 or 6 years ago, most security companies, especially the AV companies, were afraid to call stalkerware malicious. And they thought that because there might be some legitimate uses for this software, that flagging it as potentially malicious and making it possible for people to remove it might open them up to some sort of potential litigation. And I would like to think that I have sort of moved the Overton window on that one, and everybody understands that if you make software that is designed for non-consensually spying on people, that it is malicious by definition.
So it's fair to say that you can't see any positive use for any type of stalkerware, correct?
I cannot see any positive use of stalkerware, no. A lot of people will turn around and say, but I need to keep track of what my kids are doing. And if you need to keep track of what your kids are doing on their phones, there is a lot of software out there that will, in fact, track them, and that will exfiltrate all kinds of data about what your kids are doing on their phones and send it to you without hiding its presence on the phone in order to leave your kid with the impression that they are not being watched. And if you think that the problem is that you need to spy on your kid, that your kid will that you need to lie to them about whether or not you are getting this data, then you need to be having a conversation with your kid. You need to do some parenting. So I do these talks a lot at college campuses. And usually after my talk, I will get at least one college student walking up to me saying, listen, I share my physical location, the location of my phone with my parents all the time. I'm sharing it right now. My friends and I share our locations with one another constantly. Is this stalkerware? And I ask them, well, you're sharing the data. you are doing it consensually. Everybody else is also sharing their data consensually. And the difference between, stalkerware and not stalkerware is consent.
100%. My daughter will often from Michigan ask me, Dad, what are you doing in whatever town I'm in? Because she's looking at my location. And I share it with her because she's interested in where I am and she shares her location with me. And she does it for that reason, for safety reasons. And I don't abuse it. I rarely look at it, as a matter of fact.
But yeah, as long as you're not, you're not spying, you're not lying, you're not, deliberately circumventing their ability to consent, then that's fine.
No, because you're parenting or you're friending or you're whatever. And the fact of the matter is, I think that's what gets lost on us is we live in a set it and forget it kind of society where the easier it is, people think the better it is, but you lose the I and thou in that exchange. And what I mean by the I and thou is the relationship between two people where they're having a communication. And when that ceases to be the case and someone's using, whether it's a relationship or, something higher up the food chain, like a journalist being spied on by a nation state, we can't do anything about people using spyware at the Pegasus level of things, but we can do a lot about parents and loved ones and partners using it to spy on the people who are supposedly the most important people in their lives, right? If it's the most important person in your life, surely you can say, what were you doing last night?
Yeah, just like you can talk to them instead of lying to them.
Exactly.
But if part of the conversation, you also say, listen, I would like to put something on your device to protect you and to help us be in a better position to understand what you're doing so that if we see that you might be making a mistake, we can jump in and help you.
The most important aspects of such software that you should be looking for is that it should not hide from your kids. Your kids should know that it is there. And if you are dealing with someone who is over 18, that they should be able to turn it off.
100%.
They should be able to turn it off and they should have the power to remove it. So those are really the most important things to look out for. And honestly, one of the other things that happens to me when I go to college campuses and I give these talks is somebody will inevitably come up to me and they will say, but I need to install the software on somebody else's device, because otherwise, how am I going to catch my partner cheating?
Oh. Oops.
I need to get proof that my partner is cheating. And I say, you already don't trust your partner. If trust has broken down to the point where you feel the need to become an abuser and spy on your partner this way, you know what you need to do, and it is break up.
100%.
As opposed to using it as a retrusting mechanism.
Yeah, that's not going to increase trust. Like, how do you think that conversation is going to go? Like, you go and you talk to your partner, you're like, so I covertly installed some stalkerware on your device, and I watched where you were going for a week, and I see now that you are faithful to me, so, I'm not going to dump you. What do you think they're going to say? Thanks?
Yeah, I mean, or it's an incredibly abusive response. If somebody's used to being in an abusive relationship, maybe, but I mean, it's an abusive relationship at that point.
That's not great.
And you got to get out of there.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And I think it's just really important to change the way that we talk about these things. That we need to stop talking about, how spying on your partner in order to catch them cheating is okay. Because that is by far the single most common excuse that I hear. And that kind of spying is still stalking and it is still abuse. And then the second most common thing that I hear is I need to spy on my children. And the answer is you don't need to spy on your children. Your children should know that you are watching their phone and how they are watching and when they are watching. And it should be with their full understanding and consent so that they understand that you are helping them and not spying on them.
Yeah, I think it comes down to it's so interesting that whenever we're talking about something as high tech as stalkerware, it comes down to personal relationships. Like that is what will change things, is if we open up ourselves to being more intimate and having conversations that matter, even if they lead to a breakup. Better than having to, enter into that realm, because it's really you're betraying your own moral status in the world by spying on somebody. So just if you're thinking about doing it, maybe have a conversation about how your relationship sucks, and don't go down that road, because it's not a primrose path.
No, that's abuse, and there's no reason for us to become abusers ourselves. And one of the things that we're really obliged to do, as because we live in a society, is to keep other people from doing this. When people come to you, and they come to me all the time as if I am somehow the privacy pope, and I could deliver my blessing and say, this spying is fine.
Yes.
No, the spying is not fine.
So we should refer to you henceforth as the privacy pope.
I'm going to need a hat.
We'll get you one.
So, Eva, before you go, what is the one thing you wish more people were aware of about Stalkerware?
Well, when it comes to Stalkerware, I would really like for people to be aware of, in iOS, of lockdown mode and safety check. And if they are using Android devices, that they should be aware that they can download an AV product and run a scan and look for Stalkerware that way. But I think even more importantly, people should understand that Stalkerware is part of an entire kind of panoply of tech-enabled abuse, the great world of tech-enabled abuse. It's so many different things, and so people should also take care to protect themselves against things like physical trackers, and also to lock down their accounts, because by far the single most common source of tech-enabled abuse that I see, the most common form of compromise that I see, is account compromise. And you can effectively mitigate that through using a password manager, making sure that your passwords are strong and unique, and using two-factor authentication, the strongest level of two-factor authentication that you are comfortable with, though I would caution against using a physical key, like a Duo or a YubiKey, in a situation in which your abuser has physical access to wherever it is that you are hiding the keys, or to your person. That is not the threat model that these keys are made for.
Eva, this was awesome. We can't thank you enough for this. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. And if people want to find out more about you and the work you do, how do they do that?
You can find out more by going to www.eff.org.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
And now it's time for our tinfoil swan.
Our paranoid takeaway to keep you safe on and offline.
Okay, so what do we have this week, Travis?
Well, like any podcast, we try to make sure we're reaching out to people on social media.
Which is good.
Unfortunately, there's a scam going around that keeps on popping up in our feeds.
Which is bad.
What's a scam?
I mean, there are a few, but one of the newest ones is where someone comments saying that they had their account hijacked and someone online, for the right price, was able to unlock it for them.
Well, it's possible, right?
I mean, yeah, we actually know someone who does that for a living, but so what's the deal?
Well, I mean, for every one person who knows someone who can actually help them move the process of recovering your Facebook or Instagram or TikTok account along.
Well, there are bound to be a few dozen looking to make a quick buck off a panicked business owner, right?
Yeah, sure. And the other thing here is that, a lot of people make their living off of their social media accounts, so getting locked out is a pretty big deal.
Well, as our listeners know at this point, a pretty big deal is one of the most important tools in a scammer's toolbox. So what should people do?
I mean, first and foremost, if you see a comment on someone else's social media account where someone is promising some kind of wizardry or secret access to the higher-ups at Meta or anywhere else, just be skeptical.
Well, unless it's Elon Musk. I mean, I think he's happy for any traffic to Twitter these days.
You mean the glyph formerly known as Twitter?
Indeed. So if someone asks you for money up front, or worse, your account credentials after your account has been taken over, be suspicious. You could be running the risk of a double dip account hack.
Listen, there are people out there with direct ties to law enforcement or the platforms that get hacked. They might be able to help you. In fact, some of them really can help you. You know what else? They don't advertise. They don't need to.
That's right. And as Mr. Miyagi said, the best way to not get hit is not be there. Meaning if your social media account is important to your business, make yourself a harder target before you get hacked.
So, and what does that mean? It means not having a weak or reused password, setting up two-factor authentication, and all the other things that we talk about on this show.
Yeah, and a lot of people and businesses depend on social media, but that often means that they'll have multiple people posting to an account, and that also means that they tend to use easy-to-guess passwords. They are easy targets, especially when you consider that suspicious activity on an account with multiple people logged into it is less likely to be noticed.
Memo to self. If your business or personal life depends on the ability to maintain a social media presence, protect it accordingly.
Yeah, and it's not just easy to guess passwords. I mean, you can just have passwords that everybody has access to, and you can have a way to manage that is a lot safer. If your accounts do get hacked, if you think something's going on, you're going to have to do one thing, which is going to be super hard. Don't panic.
And that's our tinfoil swan.
What the Hack with Adam Levin is a production of Loud Tree Media, produced by Andrew Stephen and Travis Taylor. Our executive producers are Beau Friedlander and Adam Levin. That's me. You can find us online at adamlevin.com and Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Adam K. Levin. Come back next week.
And rate and review. It really helps people find the show.
Behind every empire are the people history tried to forget. Lost Roman Heroes tells the stories of the remarkable characters who shaped Rome from its mythical beginnings to its final fall.
Each episode blends armchair storytelling, sharp historical insight, and a bit of humor to bring these lost figures to life. From generals to scientists, from rebels to empresses, from priests to politicians, these lost Roman heroes have one thing in common.
They stood up for civilization when the bad guys threatened, and in doing so, they changed the course of human history. If you're into history that's vivid, surprising, and deeply human, this show's for you.
Behind every great meal is a person with a story to tell. Hear them on Culinary Characters Unlocked, the podcast that reveals the lives behind the food. Hosted by me, David Page, Emmy Award-winning journalist and creator of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, as I talk with everyone from culinary legends to mom-and-pop standouts about the creativity, grit, and passion that shape the food we love. Follow Culinary Characters Unlocked on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.